What happened to my friend Lila in a quiet hallway cost her $4,300. And if you don't watch closely, it could cost you too. At least, that's what it should have cost her. Lila walked into that building on a Tuesday afternoon, certain she'd say no. She didn't want the contract. And yet 40 minutes later, she was standing in that hallway, holding a free bottle of water, with the pen already in her hand. And the only thing that stopped her was one sentence. 9 words, spoken almost by accident. I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened, step by step, because 6 separate psychological techniques were used on her that day in a specific order. And it's the same order being used on you, in stores, in job offers, in relationships, sometimes at your own dinner table. By the end of this video, you'll be able to name all 6 on sight. You'll know the countermove for each, and you'll know the 9 words that saved Lila $4,000. Fair warning, once you see this, you can't unsee it. Your next 3 conversations are going to sound very different. It started before Lila said a single word. The salesman handed her that bottle of water, smiled, and said, "Long drive? Here, this one's cold." A tiny gesture. It cost him 30 cents. And it was already the first technique, reciprocity. Your brain runs ancient software here. For most of human history, survival meant trading favors. So evolution installed a quiet, low-grade alarm that goes off whenever you're indebted, even by 30 cents. Studies have found that trivial, unrequested gifts, a sample, a soda, a compliment, measurably increase how much people agree to afterward. Not because the gift is valuable, because it arrives before the request, and your brain starts quietly looking for a way to get back to even. Sit with that for a moment and notice where it shows up in your own life. The coworker who buys you coffee the morning before asking you to cover their shift. The partner who's suddenly generous right before an unreasonable ask. Here's the defense, and it's one mental move. Unbundle the gift from the request. Say thank you, mean it, then judge the ask as if the gift never existed. Gratitude is a feeling, it is not a debt, and here's the tell that exposes the whole game. If someone gets irritated when their generosity doesn't buy your compliance, it was never generosity, it was an invoice. But the water was just the doorway. What the salesman did next is the part Lila didn't notice at all, and neither do you, roughly a dozen times a week. He asked her 3 questions. You're looking for something reliable, right? Obviously. Safety matters to you, with the kids? Of course. And you'd rather handle this today than come back? Well, sure. Stop there. Replay it slowly. Lila just said yes 3 times, and none of those yeses were about the contract. That's the yes ladder, built on what psychologists call commitment and consistency. Once you've agreed to something, anything, your brain feels genuine discomfort contradicting the person you were 90 seconds ago. Nobody wants to be a hypocrite, even in front of a stranger they'll never see again. So skilled persuaders never open with the real ask. They collect small, undeniable yeses first, so that no later feels like betraying yourself. You already know this technique intimately, even if you've never named it. It's the friend who asks, "Are you free Saturday?" before telling you why. The correct answer to that question is never yes or no. It's, "What's up?" Refuse to commit before you know the request, and the ladder collapses at the first rung. Each ask deserves its own fresh answer. You owe nothing to a yes you gave under different information. Now, at this point, Lila still believed she was in control. That belief ended with a single question. And this next technique is the one I'd bet was used on you this month, because it doesn't push you toward yes. It deletes no from the room, and almost nobody sees it leave. The salesman didn't ask, "Do you want the contract?" He asked, "Would you rather do the 24-month plan or the 36 with the lower monthly?" Notice what happens in your mind when you hear that. You start comparing 24 versus 36. And while you're busy comparing, the real question, "Do I want this at all?" quietly vanishes. This is the illusion of choice, and it works because comparison is cognitively cheaper than evaluation. Handed two options, your mind gratefully takes the shortcut. Parents use it on toddlers. Bath before teeth or after? Charming there. Less charming when a manager uses it to turn unpaid weekend work into a scheduling preference. Or a partner asks whether you want to apologize now or after dinner, as if the apology itself were already settled. The counter is one sentence, and I want you to memorize it word for word. Let me back up. I haven't decided if I'm doing this at all. Then watch their face. There's a flicker, a half-second recalibration. That flicker is them realizing you saw the whole board, not just the two squares they showed you. If that flicker detail just changed how you'll watch people forever, that's what this channel does. I break down the invisible mechanics of human behavior every week, so consider subscribing because you'll want to know the next technique. It's the one that finally got the pen into Lila's hand. And stay with me until the end, because 99% of people overlook this crucial insight. Once you see it, it changes everything. The 6 techniques you're learning today are not actually 6 separate things. And the moment that clicks near the end of this video is the moment you become genuinely hard to manipulate. "I'll be honest with you," the salesman said, lowering his voice. "This pricing ends today, and I've got another appointment at 4 who's asking about the same unit." 2 claims, 0 proof. And Lila's heart rate went up anyway. Because manufactured urgency doesn't argue with your judgment, it outruns it. Your brain treats a potential loss as roughly twice as painful as an equal gain. Researchers call it loss aversion. And it means that the moment something might disappear, your question silently mutates from, "Do I want this?" into, "Can I stand to lose this?" Those are very different questions, and the second one almost always answers yes. Real deadlines exist, of course, but fake urgency has a fingerprint. The deadline always originates from the person who profits from your speed. The countdown timer, the recruiter who needs an answer by end of day. The date who says they don't wait around for people who aren't sure. So here's the acid test, and it's almost embarrassingly simple. Ask for 24 hours. A real opportunity survives a night's sleep. A manipulation almost never does, because the entire strategy was the clock. If "let me sleep on it" is met with pressure instead of patience, they've just confessed the deal can't survive daylight. Speed is their weapon. Time is yours. Lila asked no such question. She reached for the pen. And what pushed her that final inch wasn't the salesman at all. It was everyone else in the building. Or rather, the appearance of everyone else. On the wall behind the desk, a corkboard of smiling customer photos. On the screen, 137 families chose us this quarter. The salesman, almost as an afterthought. Most people in your exact situation go with this one. That's social proof, the oldest shortcut in your skull. For your ancestors, if the whole tribe was running, you ran first and asked questions later. The ones who didn't aren't anyone's ancestors. That instinct still fires today, and it fires hardest exactly when manipulation strikes, when you're uncertain and the stakes feel social. The problem is that the crowd is often invented, curated, or paid, and even a real crowd can simply be wrong. In the classic conformity experiments, people denied what their own eyes plainly saw, just to agree with a room full of strangers. So strip the crowd out. Ask yourself one question, quietly. If I were the only person on earth deciding this, would I still want it? Sometimes the answer is still yes. Good, then the choice is actually yours. But you will be genuinely unsettled by how often the entire appeal of a thing was just other people appearing to want it. Which brings us back to the hallway, the pen, and the sixth technique, the one I saved for last because it's the most intimate. There's an old line among negotiators: the last move is never just a move, it's the key that unlocks every move before it. That's exactly what this final technique is. Understand it, and the other 5 suddenly snap into focus. The other 5 push against your logic. This one wears a costume made of you. As Lila hesitated, the salesman smiled and said, "You strike me as someone who doesn't second-guess herself." Read that again, slowly, because it's a trap built from a compliment. It's called identity labeling. Instead of arguing for the request, the persuader hands you a flattering identity. Decisive, generous, smart, not like the others, and lets the identity do the arguing. Refusing the request now means refusing the compliment, and refusing the compliment means arguing you're worse than they said. Almost no one does that. Research on labeling shows the effect even in mild doses. People told they seemed charitable later gave more when asked. Because we don't just act on our self-image, we defend it. The tell is timing. A genuine compliment stands alone. A manipulative one is a doorway, and the request walks through within seconds. The counter-move is to accept the label and amputate the leap, which is exactly what Lila did. She looked up from the contract and said the 9 words. "You're right, I don't second-guess, and it's no." She used his compliment as the exit, and driving home she realized something that I think is the single most valuable idea in this entire video, so don't miss it. All 6 techniques, the water, the yes ladder, the 2 plans, the deadline, the corkboard, the compliment, were doing the same thing. Each one made the decision feel already made. Reciprocity says you already owe. Consistency says you already agreed. False choice says the yes is settled, only details remain. Urgency says deciding time is already over. Social proof says the group decided for you. Labeling says the person you are decided long ago. That's manipulation's true signature. It never defeats your judgment. It skips it. Which means the universal defense isn't intelligence or willpower or experience. It's one deliberate act. Reopening the decision. Pausing. Asking what's actually being requested. Manipulation is fast and it hates friction. You, thinking, are the friction. But I have to be honest with you. What happened to Lila was amateur hour. These 6 are the entry level, the tactics used on strangers in a single afternoon. The advanced material is darker and slower. Guilt architectures, engineered confusion, trust manipulation built over months by people who know you well enough to customize it. That's exactly why I wrote The Manipulation-Proof Mind, 8 volumes mapping the entire playbook, tactic by tactic, the psychology underneath each one, and the precise countermove that kills it. And here's the part I've been waiting to tell you. Volume 2 is out now. It's called The Compliance Trap, and it goes deep into exactly what you watched happen to Lila today. How a yes gets engineered before you ever hear the question. With the full defense system that today's video only had time to sketch. It's waiting for you at the link in the description, right beside Volume 1 if you're starting from the beginning. Most people spend their whole lives getting played by patterns they never knew had names. As of right now, you know 6. Go pick up the rest before someone who already studied them finds you first.